Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you back to my channel. So in this video, I want to go over Max's new powers, what exactly is she can do, and what the limitations and the consequences could be for using these powers. Now before I get into this video, I want to correct a mistake I made in the previous one. I originally said that Square Enix, I said Don't Nod had the rights to Life is Strange, but it's actually Square Enix. Square Enix holds the rights to the franchise, and they're the ones that let Don't Nod have access to the IP before Deck 9 got a hold of it. So shout out to @NestyBoy for correcting me, sorry about that. There's also another shout out I plan to give, but we'll get to that later in this video. Now I don't know about all of you, but I believe with 100% certainty that we will not be able to rewind in this game. Now we see that Max, in the beginning of the trailer after a friend dies, Max opens the alternate timeline and Safi's alive in it. So I think originally she was tempted to rewind time, but instead of rewinding she discovered a new ability, which is to rip open a tear, rip to another reality. So I think that from that point on Max decides, okay, I'm going to use my powers, but I'm not going to rewind. I will instead be doing this, as I know what happens when I rewind. I could cause a storm or something worse. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to do this, as I'm not changing the past or anything. I'm trying to solve the murder of my friend in my timeline and prevent her murder in this one. Now I think from what we've seen in the trailer, it's kind of a blink and you miss it thing if you don't analyze and break it down, but look at these two pictures here. On the left, this is Max's timeline. You can see from the police tape, do not cross. Now Max can't get into this area, so what she opens a tear to the alternate reality, and on the right you can see that there's no more police barricade, no more tape, there's just two people over there talking. So this is going to be, at least the way I view it, it's not going to be scripted moments, okay, you have to wait a certain time to go to the alternate timeline and to go back to yours. I think we will have manual control. It will be a lot like how we can rewind in the first game. We decide, okay, I want to use the power now. Now I do think, a lot like Life is Strange 1, there's going to be moments where Max won't be able to use her power. And this is where the shout out comes in. So I feel like a complete idiot for not noticing this. So thank you @flawed and not perfect for pointing it out. Now this person pointed out, if you look real closely at this picture of Max and Moses, you'll see that Max's nose is bleeding. And this was a common occurrence in Life is Strange 1, as the more Max used her powers, the more her nose would start to bleed, as the powers put strain on her body. Now in Life is Strange 1, whenever Max gets nosebleeds, sometimes she can't rewind time. And what I think would be very interesting is, instead of not being able to rewind time, Max can't jump between timelines. It makes sense, because Max isn't an all-powerful being. None of the characters in Life is Strange who have powers are all-powerful. We see this in episode 4 when Jefferson injects Max with the drug to knock her out. Max goes to rewind, but the drug's already entered her system and she can't do anything, and she watches Chloe die. And she ends up in the dark room, and well, we know what happens after that. So I think that I've always liked that, because I don't like when you give someone powers and they're too overpowered. There has to be limitations, and having characters either overcome them or find a way to compensate for those limitations. Those are characters I like. Then again, I could be wrong. As I mentioned in the previous video with Max and Moses and Max holding the hockey stick, the screenshot is titled Max and Moses Investigate. And then we see here, what has Max found? She's found some type of bag, and we see a gun's pulled on her. I believe it's a detective. I can tell from the sleeve, it matches him. There's no one else in the trailer that has it, especially this jacket. So maybe things got physical and he ended up hitting Max or throwing Max to the ground, and that caused her to hit her nose too hard, and she ended up with a bloody nose. Or maybe she was bored and decided to try digging for gold. I don't know. But we will know more in a few days, as there's going to be a Life is Strange reveal on for me it's going to be the 14th at 2 a.m. So as I'm an Australian, so I'm going to be asleep at that time because I have to work that day, but I'll be watching it, be making a quick video about it, and then just going over it in my head, so when I come back I can make more videos about it and discuss the gameplay. We'll see. And maybe, honestly, the thing I want to know most about this is Chloe in it? Or, because I've seen a few people, even friends of mine, they say, from the line Max delivers in the beginning of the trailer, I swore I'd never use my power again, they think that the tone of her voice indicates that the canonical ending is sacrifice Chloe, which, I don't know, I'm divided on my feelings about that, and I'm willing to make another video about it, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the powers. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this screenshot is titled Max Pursues Moses Pulse Gameplay. Now, we can see here, I originally thought Max had to stand still and she'd see these people around, and then she'd go to the alternate timeline, or she could even go back to her original one. But I think what's interesting here is she has to follow Moses, and she can't get caught, and it's pretty clever what they've done. So this is my guess, this is Max's original timeline, and she's trying to follow Moses. But if she's in the original timeline, she's not very, in the alternate timeline, my mistake, she's not very sneaky. So here, she's using her pulse power to see where Moses is going, and then she just follows the pulse until she gets to where he is, and then jumps right back into the alternate timeline to confront him. They did a similar thing in episode 3 where Max had to sneak past Principal Wells. It was right at the opening, when Wells is drunk. You gotta, if he turns around and sees Max, you know, you screwed up, so you have to rewind and have him keep trying to open the door, and just make sure to rewind every few seconds, and you can get past him. And that used to frustrate me as a kid. I was like, how the hell, well, not as a kid, but when I first played, I was like, how the hell do I get past this guy? So I think it's very interesting to use that mechanic, especially if Max is in any danger and she needs to get out of somewhere and hide. She just goes to an alternate reality, and maybe the pathway is blocked in one timeline, and she has to keep jumping back and forth between the timelines to get through an obstacle while avoiding getting caught. I think that'd be pretty cool. Now, I mentioned in the previous video how I think the detective could have the same, if not a similar power to Max. That's why on the right we see the detective look shocked, and on the left there's a pulse version of him that looks like he's done this before. Like, okay, yeah, I know it's a lot to take in. You know, I imagine he'd say something like that, to be like, just calm down, I'll explain everything to you. But then I got thinking, what if the consequences of Max's power is when she's jumping between both realities, people, as a consequence, people start seeing pulse versions of themselves, and vice versa. The pulses will be able to see the original versions of themselves from Max's timeline. And if that were to happen, I don't know how that would be explained, because I remember Life is Strange 2, this is something that still bugged me. Sean and Daniel were accused of killing the police officer, right? But when the reveal trailer for the game came out, you saw that the police officer that died, he had, on his car, he had a camera. So it was recording everything just from the car's point of view. So even though you didn't see what happened on the side, you saw that something knocked the officer back as well as the car, and it flipped. And to this day, I'm surprised that no one figured out that they had superpowers. Even if you decide to cross the border Daniel will go out, he will use his powers, and I'm pretty sure those police cars, every single one of them would be equipped with surveillance footage, so that's something that's always irked me. But if this were to happen, if people could start seeing their alternate versions of themselves, now, they could get away with this. It could be, okay, only I can see this pulse version of myself, so I can't take a photo or record anything. That could be an excuse to get away with it. But if everyone, like, not just sees their own pulses, but different pulses of people around wherever this was, I forget the name, Cold Run, that could make for very interesting stories, because do people know powers exist? Like, we don't need to go into a whole detail of like who had the first superpower. Is there a government that knows about superpowers? Like, we don't have to go down that deep rabbit hole, but I think it would be interesting for something like this to be acknowledged, at least. Like, oh, what if someone finds out I have powers? Maybe Max could ask that and start getting freaked out. And let's face it, if the government or whoever it was discovered Max had powers, you'd be damn sure they'd be trying to go after her, and best case scenario, they lock her up as they see her as a threat to herself, and as they see her as a threat to the world. Worst case scenario, they kill her and possibly dissect her to see what makes her tick, if you know what I mean, like how the powers work. So I think that'd be something interesting. How they do it would be a hit or a miss for me, but it'd be interesting nonetheless. So anyways, that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. I don't have much time to make another one at the moment, but I have a few more in the works, just nothing to upload at the moment. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please leave your thoughts and comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.